came like a king and left like a legend.
Zero people.
That's one of the most stupid questions.
Zero people.
I play all my season. Was shit.
Welcome, listeners, to a brand new episode of the European Tuesdays in the Worst Football Podcast. You might think we have not a lot to discuss, but yes, we do. Oh, what amazing thing we have to discuss today. We have to discuss what the little teams can do to survive this next stage of the Champions League. What can they do in the transfer market to upstage the big boys? This and much more in today's European Tuesdays. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of European Tuesdays. So no European games last week. We're going to discuss about Marco.
Thank you, Alex. That's a very good question. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. I wanted to analyze as many of the games as we discussed last week are quite one-sided at the moment. Were you to be the sporting director of any of the, let's say, underdog team in this Champions League, and you were given by the president 25, 30 millions, you can only buy a single player to get your team to the level it needs to be to have a fair challenge, let's say a 50-50 game or as close as possible to win the next Champions League game. Who would you buy? That is the theme of this section. And probably I'm gonna start with Lazio Bayern Munich, which in my opinion is the most one-sided game, at least personally, possibly because I'm biased and too depressed about seeing ourselves against Bayern Munich. But I would like to start from this very game, as indeed it's closer to my heart. I think that right now, if I look Lazio and Bayern Munich, Italian names always, it becomes very hard to identify a single player. Was I to put one, I think we would need someone in the defense, a very strong left center back, and that would be someone, I think, Manolas, just to give an example of a player. Currently on the left, we're still playing with Radu, and if not, we have Wesley Hood, who's adapted there. None of them is really, I think, a player that should play in Champions League. If you look at the midfield, if you look at the attack, you could argue we could be an underdog, but I really think the defense is the weak point of Lazio. What are your thoughts?
Well, playing with a leaky defense against Bayern Munich, it's not a great formula for success, let's be honest. Okay, I mean, in terms of opportunities, there will be very few. Bayern is playing quite strongly in the since Hansi Flick has been there. They had some problems in their defense, so that's the positive side for Lazio in that sense. But their attack is just demolishing. You know, you have Robert Lewandowski, just awarded with the best, and the flanks with Gnabry and Sané. I mean, no, definitely you need to toughen up that defense, because the amount of players coming in from central positions and the wide flanks, especially the wide flanks of Bayern are tremendous. So I think you probably need some cover back on the left and right backs, definitely.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? Then again, would an offensive player as a wing back really change thing, or would the center back change more? Personally, I think the latter would really add, given our play style, right? So a 3-5-1-1 or whatever you want to name that formation. But with three in the back, I
wouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, precisely. It's gonna be a loss.
I mean, the thing is, if you try to get a nice attacking wing back, or they will have to play defensive. Don't forget, on the left side, you're going to have Sané and Davies. So basically, you have two wingers against
that's
one
what I'm saying.
back.
That's why I think if I need to buy a player, the left center back, so the left one of the three, would be the only one potentially that could really block the attacks. Having a wing back that would be naturally an offensive wing back, as we're playing with 3 defenders, wouldn't change much because you're probably gonna be overwhelmed with the 2 on the side of Bayern Munich. But maybe from
fair.
one Italian, let's move to the other, and we look at Atalanta Real Madrid. Would you buy anyone for 30 million? And if so, whom for Atalanta to increase the chances of beating Real Madrid? Stefano.
Well, I would definitely buy someone, and for at least 2 reasons. And who I would buy actually for Atalanta would be Luka Modric. The first reason is that Real Madrid doesn't have him anymore, which is a very good one. He's now very old, I think, like 35 years old. So the cost should be within the 30 million, even though the wage, of course, would be very, very high. And but also the second reason is that I think Atalanta might be missing something in the middle. They have very good defensive midfielder who is Derun, even though he has his no days, but he usually plays very, very well. But then they have Freuler, who sometimes score and often plays good, but not always. And besides them, I think Atalanta is lacking something in the middle. And Luka Modric could bring the experience that many Atalanta players miss because they're a quite young team. And so he would be an excellent addition.
Yeah, I like your analysis. Gotta be honest. I was about to say I wouldn't buy anyone because I don't want to break a toy that it's working. 30 million in a team such as Atalanta means that you're gonna be by far the most expensive player of the team, and potentially the only one that I can see buying at this point would be someone on the left with similar characteristics as Gomez. Simply because you're gonna lose potentially the pillar of your team, you might want to buy a new one.
Yeah. Seems fair.
Yeah, it seems about fair. I think, if you look at those kind of games, Marco, it's hard to move a team like Atalanta, with such a clear playing style. The transfer market in the winter is not an easy one to, rotate and play around.
Precisely. That was the same point I was making. Right? The only one, if you lose Gomez, you need to substitute with someone with a similar capability of keeping the ball. Dybala would be nice. 30 million, I would buy it. But sometimes 30 is going to probably be 3 times more. But then we also have Borussia Mönchengladbach versus City.
Very strong pronunciation. Very strong.
Yes, once again.
Thanks. A German team versus City.
To make it easier, normally we just say Gladbach. Because we don't even have time to say München. So we just say Gladbach. It's a bit easier.
That's
a German team.
Good advice, yes. Good advice.
So for the German team, who would you buy?
Definitely I'd buy Thuram a new head because the guy is all over the place. Last weekend having spat on a player in the match against Hoffenheim. People are not taking this well in Germany. They want him to be expelled for as long as legally possible. So they want max penalty for him. Like for
that's very nasty. That's very nasty even in normal times, but nowadays with COVID, that's even worse, like a lot worse.
Yeah, and sorry to go off topic, and small rant, but 15 seconds, indulge me. The guy, didn't even do the Rudi Völler, Frank Rijkaard stuff from the 80s. He didn't even spat while he was not looking. They were talking face to face, and before colliding, with the head, when you go head to head, and just spat on the face. It was absolutely disgusting. In the nose, it was, new level. Listener, don't look that, honestly. I should. Sorry, rant aside. Yes. A German team should invest heavily in one key sector, the bench, and I don't mean the players on the bench, but the manager. Marco Rose is by far the star of the team. He's completely important for this team, and he's being basically harassed now by Borussia Dortmund to take over the mantle of left by the former manager. who now departed. So that would be the most important, because similar to Atalanta, but in a different way. This Gladbach team is not a nice playing team, you know. It is a team that works. They play a bit more heavy metal football, yes, but it is a very strong physical team, and it's hard to change anything there. The importance is that you keep the manager, because if they were to lose Marco Rose right now, who was previously the manager of Red Bull Salzburg, that would be a big loss.
Yeah, and to move to the next one, where we have RB Leipzig. And news just came out where they spent a really low amount of money, really, to buy Slobodai from the brother team, if you wish, or cousin, I should say. Yes, the other one, it's Red Bull. This is definitely not Red Bull. But would that be a player that can change the things, or would they need someone else on top of him for Liverpool?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right?
Yeah, especially with 30 million, that's not a lot in order to be able to change things against Liverpool. Maybe somebody in the defense.
Yes, I was going to say that. Sorry, Steve, but I was also going to say that, because the rest of the teams is quite balanced, right? Defense is the one. The defense is the one where you can see maybe you'll have some issues there. I mean, they're surviving the striker situation without Timo Werner, having Poulsen and rotating a lot of players there with even Dani Olmo. Forsberg, so they're rotating a lot, having Sabitzer on top form, behind them playing always with another number 10. Their midfield is quite. Angelino is the left wing back. It's amazing. For me, it's one of the best players this season in Europe overall. He's a bit like Davies, incredible. And their midfield is robust with Adams and Campbell. Their defense is where you could see, Upamecano is a beast. We talked about him many times before, and with Orban, they're amazing. But there's always the third player there. Could be an improvement. I agree.
Yeah, I fully agree on that point, indeed. And Slobodai, it seems like it's going to be a good fit for the future of the team. I don't think it's enough to improve right now. That's why I was also posing that question. And then, Alex, for Porto, what would Porto need? I mean, we don't know. They probably won't have 30 million this transfer market to spend. Were they to have it?
No. Well, to defeat Juventus, now we need to think about Juventus and their strengths. Well, first, their main strength has to be obvious. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. So that you cannot prepare. How to stop him. I mean, you will not buy a player to stop Cristiano. That we can already forget.
Yeah.
But the important thing for me, it's going to be on the left and right backs. I mean, Porto will definitely play with 3 central defenders and 1 left and 1 right back. That's for sure, because they also played like that against City. But they need some more defensive ones. Corona will for sure play on the right, but Zaidu on the left, coming from Santa Clara, in the transfer market in the summer, he's not at the level who can stop a Kulusevski or a Cuadrado. Yeah. The left back position would be definitely the one I would invest in.
Yeah, fully agree. And to close off, the last 2 games are Barcelona, PSG, and Atletico Madrid, Chelsea. Now, during our overview, we have identified that most likely PSG and Atletico are slightly ahead. But I think these 2 games are going to deserve, rather, an analysis of the role. The 4 teams are so close together. The difference that a single player being injured, not injured, both can make. I think it's too massive to be discussed in just a couple of minutes that were left of this episode. So I would just skip it for the next one. But before we go, I would just like to leave the end to the episode to your favorite section, which is
meme section of the day.
Meme of the week. This is a favorite section of everyone, as we all know, and as we've seen over the reactions that you've sent us on our social media. So yeah, it's the meme of the week is a really sad one, actually. Normally we would bring you whole meme, you know, in terms of a funny thing, and in that case, that's what we also bring. It's more one of those questions, you know, if technically, if you have an afro, a huge afro, could you maybe, you know, do a hole in it and bury the ball in it and transport the ball over the field? And technically, you know, if people tackle you, it's a foul.
And you're not touching it
Right?
with your hands, right?
You can't touch it with your hands, no? I mean, what if you're a goalkeeper? That's an added question. You can put the ball in your head.
And then run.
And
I
then
think
run.
so. I think so.
I
mean, I can imagine it happening. I fear they would found some excuse like you're stopping the ball from being played by others. But if you were to do it, I would, to be honest, like if I was the goalkeeper of the other team, I would move from my goal and say, please score, because this is too good to be true.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too sure about that being consistent with the rules, but now I want to see it. So please, Alex, tell me that it actually happened.
Unfortunately, no, it has not happened so far. But I mean, if you start improving your technical skills, and you maybe grow, you know, 15 centimeters, and you start growing an afro,
Yeah.
you do all of these, maybe you can test it out.
That will be
Challenge
the hardest part, actually.
The afro, probably.
The afro,
15,
yes.
growing
yes. Way
growing
more
15
than improving my shape, yes.
Very well, and that was this week's meme of the week.